Hello and welcome back to EETimes live coverage of the 49th Design Automation Conference from the San Francisco Moscone Center. I'm Brian Fuller, Editorial Director of EETimes' EE Life section. Also the guy who for the past year either missed a meeting or insulted somebody or made some other sin, because for the past year I've been driving a Chevy Volt around the country as part of the Drive for Innovation. What we do is we drive this car. It's now been about 27,000 miles around the country. As we interview engineers, entrepreneurs, engineering professors, students all around the country, and we talk about innovation. What's cool, what's hot, what are the big challenges, and we've been doing that, like I said, since about July of last year. Another key part of the program on our site, driveforoinnovation.com, is the fact that we tore down a Chevy Munro and Associates, and one of our partners in crime, please welcome Al Steier from Munro and Associates, who sort of led, not sort of, but you did lead the teardown. We brought in John Scott Thomas from our sister company Tech Insights to take us down to the chip level. But what we did as part of this teardown was, Al, you tore the whole car apart for 3 days. We have time-lapse photography that we are showing now. And over 3 days, we tore that car down to the board level, and you guys subsequently analyzed what was on the board. John looked at, he's decapped a lot of the ICs. What are those ICs? There's a lot of Freescale content there. What's going on? Why did they put these modules here? Why didn't they put those there? And Al, you've been in the automotive electronics industry for 113 years.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Somewhere in that area.
And so you've seen it all, and you helped us in 2007 with the teardown of the Prius,
Yep.
which we did at ESC. And you and I tomorrow at Design Automation Conference are going to sort of reprise
Basically take that 3-day presentation from Design West and consolidate it into an hour. So it'll be kind of an overview of the whole teardown in an hour time frame.
So what did we learn? More importantly, what did you learn? Given all your experience in doing teardowns, what did you learn about the Chevy Volt and the electronics inside?
Probably the biggest thing is the diversity of suppliers that they have within their product. You had the LG Chem battery pack, you got the Hitachi inverter converter, you got the Denso products, and so on. But there's quite a bit of diversity, so they have a pretty good supply base, and they have to bring all those guys together. In the electronics world, it's a tough challenge.
Was there anything that jumped out at you as other than the diversity of suppliers, as a design approach that was surprising?
The interesting thing I thought was what they did with the cover over the top of the transmission. Most of typically all your high voltage interconnects have some sort of safety interlock, and they bypass that by integrating it into the cover. So they eliminated some parts there. This location of components, they had that one control module under the passenger seat, which looked like it was designed for under the engine compartment, with the potting in it. And whether they're afraid somebody's going to spill coffee in that little cubby hole under the seat, I'm not sure. But some of those modules, just trying to get the modules apart, they were stamped together or they were sealed in such a way we basically had to peel them open like a sardine can in some cases. So,
yeah.
But that's just a lot of times that's how the manufacturers keep the customers from going into them, and guys like me from going in and trying to change things in them. So.
One of the things you pointed out when we did 3 days of teardowns at Design West was when we were talking about some of the charge electronics, the charge port, if you're looking at the Volt head on, the charge port's near the driver's side on the right side as you're looking head on to the Volt. But a lot of the inverter modules and subcomponents are on the left side of the car. The engine in the Volt, the 149 horsepower engine, is on the left. The engine control module is on the right front. And that's kind of a weird X pattern, which I don't understand.
Yeah, I didn't understand that one either. Only thing I could think of is a lot of times manufacturers will do little things for insurance purposes. Maybe it was for impact. Most vehicles, left front impact is something that they do in crash testing. Moving that expensive AC to DC converter over to the other side, you know, versus their engine controller, which they use in high volume in all their products. You know, it's a little cheaper. So from a replacement perspective, it may have something to do with that. Either that or the two engineers that designed them weren't talking to each other, which is a possibility.
That does happen.
That does happen.
So somebody said to me in the middle of that teardown, isn't it like watching grass grow? And I said, absolutely not. And by watching you run around for 3 full days doing that, I know it wasn't for you. That's one car that you've worked on in your career, and certainly recently. What are some of the other trends that you're seeing in automotive design that are really interesting and are going to surprise a few people?
Just the level of technology and engine controls, electronics in general. I mean, it used to be, you know, the day of the condenser and points. Today, you look under the hood and, you know, you're going to have direct injection, you're going to have variable valve timing control on all 4 cam phasers in a V6 or on both in an i4. And the level of electronics is just going to keep increasing as they keep trying to get every ounce of efficiency out of those engines. You know, with these current mile per gallon rulings coming up, all these manufacturers are looking, what can we do next to improve the engines to keep in that mile per gallon range that the EPA initiative are proposing that they have to meet.
Well, the challenge there is these guys have gone to electric vehicles to try to make those, whatever it's going to be, 35 miles per gallon or something like that. But the energy density on a battery is nowhere near what the energy density of a gallon of gas is.
Right, and so that's why you're going to see, I think you're going to see the gas engine's going to be around easily for another 20 years. The electrics are going to catch up, but I think you're going to, the improvements you're going to see in the gas engine are going to kind of drive that sector. You know, that's their bread and butter is the engines, the powertrains. You know, GM has got a good leg up, you know, on the electric side. You know, they started out with the EV1, now they got the Volt. Toyota's been doing it for a while. Ford's got the Fusion out there, and you know, but a lot of it, you know, you look at the Volt, it's, you know, you got LG, you got Denso, you got Hitachi. You know, you look at the Ford, they've done some of the similar things. So, you know, if they want to keep that, you know, those value-added costs in-house so they can control them, you know, you're going to see, you know, it's a big major change for them. It's a paradigm shift. You're going from gas engines that you've made for years, now I got to make an electric motor. You know, it's not the same guys. It's a total different industry, you know, to them.
Yeah, a completely new field to be plowed. Outside of that approach to maximizing miles per gallon, are you seeing any sort of oddballs? Not the right word, but different approaches in prototype format to different types of fuel types, for instance, to power a car?
Not so much the fuel types, but more in just the overall controls. You know, if you look at like the Chrysler Fiats, they got the multi-air out there where they're doing more precise control of the valve timings. There's a Mazda Sky out there with an electric cam phaser on it. You know, everybody has their little niches that they, you know, and their technology, their IT, you know, intellectual property that they have that they're implementing into their vehicles. So they all have their little takes off of it.
Speaking of take, what's your take in terms of regional design innovation, right? We know that the Europeans, you know, Mercedes, BMW, those guys have always been sort of at the leading edge of design. Detroit too, Japanese, Toyota, Nissan, of course. You seen anything out of India or China that catches your eye?
They're starting to think about the efficiency. I mean, their customers are, you know, they're poor people. The cost of fuels, you know, is a big thing to them too. So they are starting to improve their emissions a little bit. Some of the engines I've seen, I've done a couple of them, you know, on the Indian companies, and I've seen them starting to meet a little more stricter emissions controls. And they're going to be looking at the fuel efficiency side of it, and that's always a big driver in their market as well, just because of the lower level of income. They can't afford a gallon of gas. So, you know, they got to be able to, you know, how do I get an efficient vehicle that I can, you know, afford to be able to drive? So, it's starting to make inroads, but it's a little on the slow side.
And you're busy as hell.
Oh, I shouldn't even be here today. My boss is probably looking at this like, why is he doing this? I should be back at the computer working on something.
Sandy's doing the Lord's work here in San Francisco. Sorry, it was my fault. You can blame me. Anyway, if you want to see Al's handiwork, You can go to driveforinnovation.com. That's where we have all the videos, all the text analysis of the teardown that Al and John Scott Thomas did in Detroit in the winter time frame. If you're going to migrate your way to Design Automation Conference tomorrow, don't miss our live presentation. It'll be at 1:30 in the DAC Theater. We'll be there afterwards. Al is a font of knowledge, as you can tell. He's happy to answer your questions, so don't miss that at 1:30 tomorrow. We're going to take a short break. Our next guest up is Steve Smith from Synopsys. We're going to throw a mic at him, and we'll be back in about 5 minutes with Steve Smith, so don't go far.